I was a shy intern. I saw a deaf old man being ignored in our lobby, so I greeted him in sign language. I had no idea the CEO was watching or who that man was. I was 23, barely making rent in a studio with broken AC and completely invisible at my tech startup job. 4 months as an intern at Velocity Technologies, and most people still didn't know my name. I restocked coffee, organized supplies, and never spoke up in meetings. My only real skill? Sign language. Learned it at 12 from my cousin Maya, who was born deaf. I couldn't stand watching family gatherings where she sat alone while everyone else talked. Spent 3 years at community center classes, practicing until my hands ached. By 16, Maya and I could have entire conversations no one else understood. That Tuesday, I was at my desk near the lobby compiling data for a presentation I'd never give. That's when I noticed him. An elderly man in a worn brown jacket stood at our marble reception desk, trying to sign to Brittany. He was maybe 70 with white hair and kind eyes that looked increasingly desperate. His hands moved in signs I recognized immediately. "Sorry, I don't understand what you need," Brittany said loudly, as if volume would help. "Do you have an appointment?" She glanced at her phone, clearly wanting him to leave. 3 employees in expensive suits walked right past without looking. One actually sighed, annoyed he was blocking the lobby. My stomach twisted. This was exactly what happened to Maya at restaurants, at the DMV, at stores. People treating her like she was invisible. I stood up before I could stop myself and signed. "Hi, my name is Sophie. Can I help you?" The transformation on his face was immediate. Relief flooded his features. He signed back quickly. "Oh, thank God. I've been standing here for almost 40 minutes. I'm looking for Jennifer Smith." Jennifer Smith. My stomach dropped. Our CEO, the woman who built this company to 200 million. She was brilliant, intimidating, and notoriously private. Nobody just dropped by to see Jennifer Smith. "I'll help you find her," I signed, gesturing to the waiting area. "Please sit. Can I get you water?" He nodded and signed. "You're very kind. Most people just pretend they don't see me." My throat tightened. I got him settled and stood there paralyzed. I was supposed to go to the executive floor with no appointment. They'd probably escort me out. But I looked back at him, hands folded in his lap, trying to look dignified after being ignored for 40 minutes. I thought of Maya again. I took the elevator to the 12th floor, hands shaking. The executive level was all glass walls and hushed importance. Jennifer's assistant, Daniel, looked up, already annoyed. "Hi, I'm Sophie from marketing. There's a man downstairs for Jennifer Smith." "Ms. Smith doesn't take walk-ins," Daniel said. "He's been waiting 40 minutes. He's deaf. He can't just—" Jennifer's office door opened. She stood there in her black blazer, phone in hand, sharp eyes that cataloged everything instantly. "What's going on?" "There's a man downstairs. He's deaf. He's asking for you." "Where is he?" Her demeanor changed completely. The phone dropped to her side, panic flashing across her face. She was already moving past me, practically running to the elevator. When we reached the lobby, she walked straight to him. They stared at each other. Then she pulled out her phone, typing frantically. They communicated through text for what felt like forever. Finally, Jennifer turned to me. Her eyes were red. "You know sign language?" "Yes, I learned it from my cousin." She looked at me like I'd performed a miracle. "My father lost his hearing in an accident 6 months ago. He refuses to learn sign language. Says he's too old. It's pointless. I've been begging him to take classes." Her father suddenly pulled out his phone and showed Jennifer something. She stared at the screen and her whole body tensed. "What is it?" I asked. She couldn't look at me. "It's his calendar. Every Wednesday for 6 months he's marked lunch with Jennifer." Her voice cracked. "I never had lunch with him. Not once." She took the phone with shaking hands. "He's been coming to this building every single Wednesday, sitting in the lobby for an hour, then leaving, marking it as complete." I looked at her father, who was beaming at Jennifer like she'd made his whole year. She whispered, "He thinks we've been having lunch this whole time, that I've just been too busy to come down to the lobby. He's been eating alone at our cafeteria and telling himself I'm in meetings." Her father signed something, and I translated automatically. "He's asking what we should order today since it's been such a good week." Jennifer looked at me, waiting for the translation, and I knew whatever I said next would either force her to finally tell him the truth or make me part of her lie forever. My hands felt heavy as I signed to Robert. That was his name, I learned later. I told him exactly what he'd asked, that Jennifer was wondering what he wanted for lunch, and that she was happy to see him. The way his face lit up, man, I can't even describe it. It was like watching someone who'd been drowning finally break the surface. He signed enthusiastically about the cafeteria's chicken sandwich, how it reminded him of this deli near his old apartment, and how he always got extra pickles because Jennifer used to steal them off his plate when she was little. Jennifer's jaw tightened, but she nodded, forcing a smile. Robert didn't notice. He was too busy signing about how much he'd missed these lunches, how they were the highlight of his week. I translated everything, my stomach churning. Jennifer pulled me aside while Robert headed toward the cafeteria, still beaming. "Thank you," she said quietly. Her makeup was smudged under one eye. "I know this is— Look, I'll explain everything, but right now I just need to get through this lunch. Can you stay, please? I'll pay you overtime. Whatever you need. You don't have to pay me," I said. "I can help." She laughed, but it sounded painful. Trust me, you'll want the money after this. The lunch was excruciating. Robert sat across from Jennifer in the bright cafeteria, signing constantly while I translated. He talked about his garden, his card game buddies, the new pharmacy that opened near his house. Normal stuff, you know? But every few minutes, he'd circle back to Jennifer, how proud he was of her, how he showed everyone photos of her office from the company website, how he knew she was busy, but these lunches meant everything. Jennifer barely ate. She nodded in the right places, typed responses on her phone that I voiced aloud, but I could see her shrinking with every minute. When Robert excused himself to use the restroom, she dropped her head into her hands. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she whispered. Now he thinks we're doing this every week. He's going to expect it. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, I offered weakly. He seems really sweet. She looked at me with exhausted eyes. You don't know him. Robert came back and we finished lunch. He hugged Jennifer for a long time before leaving, signing that he'd see her next Wednesday, same time. Jennifer barely nodded. After he left, she asked me to come to her office. I followed her up to the 12th floor, past Daniel's concerned glance, into her massive corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She poured herself whiskey from a crystal decanter. It was 2 p.m. My father is a wonderful person, she said, not looking at me. He's kind, generous. He volunteers at the animal shelter. He donates to every charity that asks. Everyone loves Robert. She took a drink. But he's also the reason my mother left when I was 19, and the reason I moved 3 times in my 20s, and the reason I changed my phone number twice. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there. He gets fixated on people, Jennifer continued, especially people he loves. When I was in college, he'd call me 17 times a day. Literally 17. I counted. He'd show up at my dorm unannounced with groceries I didn't ask for, crying if my roommate said I was at the library. He'd wait outside my classes to surprise me with lunch. She refilled her glass. My mother put up with it for years. The daily flowers at her work, the crying if she wanted a girls' night, the emotional breakdowns if she didn't text back within 30 minutes. When she finally left, he was devastated. Couldn't understand what he'd done wrong. Because he hadn't done anything wrong, right? He was just loving her. I thought about Robert's face in the cafeteria, the pure joy. After my mom left, it got worse with me, Jennifer said. I was all he had. Every achievement became about him. Every job I got, every promotion, he'd cry about how proud he was, but also how much he missed me, how I was changing, getting too successful to need him. She finally looked at me. I set boundaries, firm ones. I told him I loved him, but I couldn't handle the constant contact. He promised to do better. Lasted 3 weeks before he started showing up at my office building, at my apartment, always with some excuse. I was in the neighborhood. I wanted to make sure you were eating. It was suffocating, Sophie. I couldn't breathe. So the accident, I said slowly. When he lost his hearing, I thought it might actually help, she admitted. Give him something else to focus on. But he refused to learn sign language, said it was pointless, that he was too old to start over. She laughed bitterly. I think he was hoping I'd be his interpreter, that it would force me to be around him constantly. I felt sick. And now he thinks you've been having lunch with him every Wednesday for 6 months. Because he's been sitting in your lobby every Wednesday for 6 months, eating alone and pretending I was there. Jennifer set down her glass. Look, I know this sounds terrible. I know I sound terrible. But I can't do this every week. I can't sit through those lunches watching him beam at me while knowing that the second I miss one, he'll spiral. That he'll start calling again, showing up at my apartment again, making me responsible for his entire emotional well-being again. So what do you want me to do? I asked. She looked guilty. I'll pay you $200 per lunch. You have lunch with him every Wednesday. Translate. Keep him company. I'll cover it as a corporate accessibility initiative or something. He clearly loves talking to you and you've been so patient. You want me to have lunch with your father every week so you don't have to, I said flatly. I know how it sounds. Like you're paying me to be your stand-in daughter. Jennifer flinched. You're right. It's manipulative and awful, and I'm sorry for even asking. Just forget I said anything. I'll figure something out. I should have said no right there. Should have walked out of her office and back to my desk and let Jennifer deal with her own family drama. But I thought about Robert's face when I signed to him. The relief, the joy. And I thought about Maya, about how lonely she'd been before I learned to sign. I'll do it, I heard myself say. But just for a few weeks, to help him adjust. And you need to eventually tell him the truth. Jennifer looked so relieved I thought she might cry. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. And I will tell him. I just need some time to figure out how. That's how I became Robert's weekly lunch companion. The first official Wednesday, Robert showed up at 11:45 sharp, dressed in slacks and a button-down shirt, hair carefully combed. He brought flowers, yellow carnations, and signed that they were for me. These are beautiful, I signed back. You didn't have to. You're giving an old man your time, he signed. It's the least I can do. We went to the cafeteria and honestly it was nice at first. Robert was a good storyteller. He'd worked as an electrician for 40 years, raised Jennifer as a single dad after his wife left, put her through college while working 2 jobs. He talked about teaching her to ride a bike, helping with her science fair projects, sitting in the front row at her college graduation. She was so smart, he signed. eyes distant with memory, top of her class. I knew she'd do something important. I just didn't know she'd become this. He gestured at the building around us. Sometimes I see her on the news talking about technology and innovation, and I can't believe that's my little girl. You must be very proud, I signed. I am. But then his expression shifted, got heavier. I just wish she had time for me anymore. I understand she's busy, building an empire, you know. But sometimes I call and she doesn't answer for days. Or she'll text me back instead of calling, like she can't spare 5 minutes to actually talk to me. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. She changed after college, Robert continued. Got all focused on her career. Started dating these men who wore suits and talked about stocks. She stopped coming home for Sunday dinners. Stopped calling just to chat. He looked sad. I don't blame her. Success changes people. I just miss who she used to be. Red flag number 1, and I completely missed it. Over the next few weeks, I learned Robert's entire life story. His childhood in Ohio, his marriage at 22, his wife leaving him when Jennifer was a teenager. He talked about loneliness a lot, about how quiet his house was, how his friends were all dying off or moving to Florida, how Jennifer was really all he had left. You remind me of her, he signed one Wednesday, the way she was before all this. He gestured at the office building, kind, patient, actually interested in what an old man has to say. It felt good being needed like that, being seen as kind instead of invisible. I started looking forward to Wednesdays, to be honest. Robert always had stories, always asked about my life, remembered details from previous conversations. How's Maya doing? He'd sign. Did your landlord fix the AC yet? Did you end up watching that movie I recommended? Then around week 6, my phone rang on a Thursday evening. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Robert. He'd gotten my number from the company directory, he explained. He just wanted to say hi, see how my week was going. Oh, I said, speaking slowly so he could read my lips over FaceTime. Hi, Robert. I'm good. How are you? Lonely, he signed. I was thinking about our lunch yesterday and realized I'd have to wait 6 whole days to talk to you again. I hope it's okay, I called. It's fine, I said, because what else was I supposed to say? He looked so hopeful. We talked for 20 minutes. He showed me his garden through the camera, his tomato plants and rose bushes, asked about my day, told me about his card, game that evening, and how he'd won $12. You're easy to talk to, he signed. Jennifer never wants to just chat anymore, always rushing off to meetings or conference calls, but you actually listen. After we hung up, I felt weird about it, but couldn't explain why. He was just lonely, right? And I'd been nice to him. That wasn't wrong. He called again Saturday, then Tuesday, then started calling every other day just to chat. The conversations got longer, 30 minutes, 45, an hour of him showing me his house, his photo albums, his collections of old coins and stamps, always talking about Jennifer, how successful she was, how he missed her, how things had been better before. She used to tell me everything, he signed during one call. When she was young, we were so close. I was her best friend. Now she barely tells me anything. I have to find out about her life from news articles. Have you told her you feel this way? I asked. I've tried, he signed, but she gets defensive, says I'm being too much, too needy. He looked hurt. I just love my daughter. Is that wrong? I didn't know how to answer that. At our next Wednesday lunch, Robert seemed extra cheerful. He brought me coffee from my favorite shop. I'd mentioned it in passing weeks ago, and somehow he'd remembered the exact order. Vanilla latte with oat milk, extra shot. This is really thoughtful, I signed, genuinely touched. I pay attention, he signed back, smiling. You mentioned it helps you focus in the mornings. We ate lunch and Robert talked about his week, but he kept circling back to Jennifer. How he'd tried to call her Tuesday and she hadn't answered. How he'd texted her about a news article he thought she'd find interesting and she'd just sent back a thumbs up emoji. I know she's busy, he signed, but a thumbs up. That's it. I'm her father. I felt caught in the middle. I knew Jennifer was drowning in work. She'd mentioned a major product launch coming up, but I could also see how much Robert's loneliness was eating at him. Maybe you could try scheduling regular calls, I suggested, so she knows to expect them and can set aside time. Robert's expression darkened. I shouldn't have to schedule time with my own daughter. We should just talk naturally like we used to, like you and I do. The comparison made me uncomfortable, but I pushed the feeling down. That's when I noticed Robert had started showing up on days other than Wednesday. I'd see him in the lobby when I arrived at 9 a.m. sitting in the same chair reading a newspaper, or at lunch on Fridays in the cafeteria, eating alone at a table with a view of the elevators. Brittany mentioned it to me in the break room. That old guy is here like every day now. Is he working on a project with the company or something? He's visiting, I said vaguely. Well, he asked about you yesterday, she said. Wanted to know what time you usually take lunch. I didn't tell him because it was kind of weird, you know. My, stomach dropped. Yeah, weird. I tried to ignore it. Robert was just lonely and the office building was public space. He wasn't doing anything wrong technically, but then I went to grab coffee at my favorite lunch spot, the one Robert had brought me coffee from, and he was there, sitting at a corner table smiling when I walked in. Sophie, he signed enthusiastically. What a coincidence. I was just in the neighborhood and remembered you mentioned this place. My neighborhood was 20 minutes from his house. I knew because he'd shown me on Google Maps once. Robert, hi, I signed, forcing a smile. Yeah, I come here sometimes. Would you like to sit? He signed. I'd love the company. I was just going to eat alone, but this is much better. I should have said no, should have made an excuse about meeting a friend or having work to do, but he looked so hopeful, and there were people watching, and I didn't want to be rude. I sat down. Robert talked the entire lunch about how he'd been thinking about our conversations, how much they meant to him, how I was one of the only people who really understood him anymore. He showed me photos on his phone, childhood pictures of Jennifer at birthday parties, graduations, family vacations. She was so happy then, he signed, pointing to a photo of Jennifer at maybe 8 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, before she decided success was more important than family. I don't think that's fair, I signed carefully. Jennifer works really hard. That doesn't mean she doesn't care about you. Robert's expression shifted. You're defending her. I'm just saying it's complicated. She pays you to have lunch with me, he signed bluntly. Did you think I didn't know? I'm old, not stupid. She's paying you because she can't be bothered to spend time with her own father. I felt my face get hot. Robert, it's fine, he signed, but his hands were sharp, angry. At least you're honest about it. At least you show up. He softened. You're a better company than she ever was anyway. Always on her phone, always distracted. You actually listen. The compliment felt like a trap, but I didn't know how to escape it. After that lunch, I texted Jennifer. We need to talk. She called me 5 minutes later. What happened? I told her everything. The phone calls, the showing up at the office on other days, the coffee shop. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. He's doing it again. Doing what? Fixating, she said. Finding someone who's nice to him and slowly absorbing their entire life. That's what he did to my mom, to his previous neighbors, to my college roommate. He befriended her and started calling her all the time, asking about me, trying to get information about my life. She eventually blocked his number. He's just lonely, I said. But even I could hear the doubt in my voice. Sophie listened to me, Jennifer said, and her voice was urgent. My father isn't malicious. He's not trying to be creepy or controlling. He genuinely doesn't see what he's doing, but he doesn't understand boundaries. He never has. When he loves someone, he needs constant access to them, constant reassurance. And the more you give, the more he needs. What do you want me to do? Set limits, she said. Now, before it gets worse. Trust me, it gets worse. I tried. The next Wednesday, I met Robert for lunch and gently explained that I could only do our weekly lunches. Nothing more. No phone calls during the week. No meeting outside of work. Robert's face crumbled. Like literally crumbled. His eyes filled with tears and his hands shook as he signed. Did I do something wrong? He asked. I'm sorry if I called too much. I know I can be too much. That's what Jennifer always says. That's what everyone says eventually. You didn't do anything wrong, I signed, feeling like the worst person alive. I just need some boundaries for my own mental health. Boundaries, he signed bitterly. That's what Jennifer said before she stopped talking to me. That's what my wife said before she left. Boundaries is just another word for I don't want you around anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a burden, he signed, tears running down his face now. People were staring. I've always been a burden. Too needy, too emotional, too much. I get it. Robert, please. It's fine, he signed, standing abruptly. I'll leave you alone, like everyone wants. I'm sorry I bothered you. He walked out of the cafeteria, and I sat there feeling like I just kicked a puppy. Several coworkers were giving me dirty looks. One older woman actually came over and asked if I was okay, implying maybe I'd done something to upset that poor old man. I texted Jennifer. I tried to set boundaries, and he fell apart. Yeah, she texted back. He's good at that. I felt sick, guilty, horrible. So when Robert called me that night crying, apologizing for being too much, promising he'd change, saying I was the only person who made him feel human anymore, I folded. It's okay, I said. We can keep talking. I overreacted. Really? He signed through FaceTime, wiping his eyes. You mean it? Yeah, but maybe just a couple times a week just to check in? He agreed immediately, thanking me profusely. But by the next week, he was calling every day again. Sometimes twice a day. Always apologetic, always grateful, always just needing someone to talk to for just a few minutes that turned into an hour. At our next Wednesday lunch, Robert showed me his phone background. It was a photo of us from the previous week. Me signing, him smiling. I didn't remember him taking it. I hope you don't mind, he signed. I showed my card game friends, told them all about you. They're so impressed that Jennifer's company has such kind employees. You told your friends about me? I asked. Of course, he signed. They ask about you every week now. Want to know how you're doing? I show them photos sometimes. He scrolled through his phone, showing me at least a dozen photos I didn't know existed. Me laughing, me signing, me eating. Robert, you can't just take photos of people without asking, I said. I'm sorry, he signed quickly. I just wanted to remember our times together. You've become like family to me, Sophie. Is that okay? Can I think of you as family? And see, here's the thing. It should have set off every alarm bell. But the way he said it, so hopeful and vulnerable, I couldn't bring myself to hurt him. Sure, I signed weakly. Like family. His smile could have lit up the whole building. That night, I called Maya. Told her everything. Soph, she said carefully, this guy sounds like he's got some serious attachment issues. He's just lonely. His wife left. His daughter barely talks to him. That's not your responsibility to fix. Maya interrupted. You're 23. This is a 70-year-old man who's making you responsible for his emotional well-being. That's not okay. But he doesn't have anyone else. And that sucks, it really does. But you being kind doesn't mean you have to let someone consume your life. Loneliness isn't malicious, but that doesn't mean you're obligated to sacrifice your boundaries to fix it. I feel like a terrible person. You're not terrible, you're compassionate. But there's a difference between being kind and being someone's emotional hostage. And from what you're telling me, he's not respecting your limits. He's just getting better at making you feel guilty for having them. I knew she was right. Deep down, I knew. But I also knew that ending things with Robert would destroy him, and I wasn't sure I could live with that guilt. The next week, I tried to scale back again, gently. I stopped answering some of his calls, let them go to voicemail, kept my responses to texts brief. Robert didn't get angry. He got worried, concerned. He started leaving voicemails asking if I was okay, if he'd done something wrong, if I was mad at him. The messages were never mean, just sad, progressively sadder. Sophie, it's Robert. I haven't heard from you in 2 days, and I'm getting worried. Please call me back when you can. I just want to make sure you're all right. Hi, it's me again. I know you're probably just busy, but I had a nightmare that something happened to you, and I can't stop thinking about it. Please just text me so I know you're okay. Sophie, I'm sorry if I've been calling too much. I know I do that. I know I'm too needy, but you're the only person I can really talk to anymore. Everyone else has left. Please don't leave too. On day 6 of me not responding, he showed up at the office. Not angry, just devastated. Brittany called me down to the lobby. Robert was sitting in his usual chair, eyes red, hands shaking. When he saw me, he stood up so fast he nearly fell. Are you okay? He signed frantically. I've been so worried. You weren't answering, and I thought maybe you were sick or hurt or I'm fine. Robert, I signed. I've just been busy. Busy, he repeated, and something in his expression shuddered. Right, busy. Like Jennifer is always busy. It's not like that. I get it, he signed. I'm too much. Everyone says so. My wife said it. Jennifer says it. Now you. His hands moved slowly, heavily. I should have known better than to trust someone who was only kind to me because they were being paid. The words hit like a slap. That's not fair, isn't it? He signed. Jennifer pays you $200 a week to have lunch with her pathetic father because she can't be bothered herself. And now even you don't want to do it anymore. Robert, it's fine, he signed, already turning away. I understand. I've always understood. I'm too much. I need too much. I love too much. And eventually everyone realizes they can't handle it and they leave. My wife, my daughter, now you. He walked toward the exit and I just stood there, frozen, feeling like absolute garbage. Brittany was watching from the desk. What the hell did you do to that sweet old man? I wanted to scream. Wanted to explain that I hadn't done anything except be nice to a lonely person and have it spiral completely out of control. But I just went back to my desk and pulled up my email. Jennifer was waiting for me in the lobby when I left work. Robert called me, she said without preamble, crying about how you abandoned him. I didn't abandon him. I just stopped answering every single call, and he took it as complete rejection because that's what he does. Jennifer looked exhausted. This is exactly why I set boundaries in the first place. Because with him, it's all or nothing. You're either completely available or you're abandoning him. There's no middle ground. He makes me feel like a monster for having any limits at all, I said. Welcome to my entire life, Jennifer said quietly. That's why I had to cut contact, because I couldn't breathe. Every boundary I set became a betrayal in his eyes. Every time I needed space, I was becoming cold or changing or choosing my career over family. He talks about you constantly, and I told her. About how you used to be different, how you used to need him. Jennifer's laugh was bitter. I did need him. When I was a kid, I needed him desperately, and he loved that. He loved being needed, but when I grew up and needed him less, when I started making my own decisions and having my own life, he couldn't handle it because he didn't actually want a daughter. He wanted someone who would need him forever. That's harsh. It's true, she said. My therapist explained it. He has abandonment issues from my mom leaving, so he latches onto people and squeezes until they can't take it anymore and they leave too, which just confirms his belief that everyone abandons him eventually. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I thought about Robert's face when he said everyone leaves, the resignation in it, like he'd accepted it as fact. So what do? I asked. You end it, Jennifer said, cleanly. No room for negotiation. Or you don't end it and accept that he's going to consume more and more of your life until you can't take it anymore and you leave anyway. Those are your options. That night, I blocked Robert's number. Then I unblocked it, feeling guilty. Then blocked it again. I didn't sleep. The voicemail started the next day. My phone was still blocking him, but they went to a separate folder. I made the mistake of listening. Sophie, I know you're upset with me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for whatever I did. Please just tell me what I did wrong and I'll fix it. I'll change. I promise. Just please don't shut me out. It's been 3 days and I can't stop thinking about our last conversation. I replay it over and over, trying to figure out where I messed up. Was it when I mentioned the photos? I know that made you uncomfortable. I won't do it again. Please give me another chance. I'm starting to think you're just like Jennifer, using me when it's convenient and discarding me when I need too much. I thought you were different. I thought you actually cared. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm fundamentally unlovable. That's what my wife said before she left, that loving me was exhausting, that I needed too much reassurance, too much attention, too much everything. Maybe she was right. Maybe everyone's right. They went on for 2 weeks, getting sadder, more resigned, until finally, I get it now. You're not going to respond. You're doing what Jennifer did, what everyone does, and I can't even blame you. I know what I am. I know I'm too much. I just wanted you to know that our lunches were the happiest I've been in years. Even if they meant nothing to you, they meant everything to me. Goodbye, Sophie. I cried listening to that last one. Then I felt angry for crying. He was manipulating me, right? Making me feel guilty for having boundaries? But he also sounded genuinely destroyed. I lasted another week before the guilt got too heavy. I unblocked him to send one text. Robert, I'm sorry. I just need space. You didn't do anything wrong. I hope you're well. He responded immediately. I understand. Thank you for being kind enough to at least say goodbye. Jennifer never did. I blocked the number again before he could send anything else. At work, I avoided the lobby, took the stairs, ate lunch at my desk. I couldn't risk running into him. 2 weeks later, Jennifer appeared at my desk. He's calling me again, she said. There were dark circles under her eyes. Every day, sometimes multiple times a day, crying about how you abandoned him, how everyone abandons him, how he can't understand what he did wrong. I'm sorry, I said helplessly. Don't be sorry, just understand something. She sat on the edge of my desk. This is what he does. This is what he's always done. He finds someone who's kind to him and he latches on. And when they set any boundary at all, he falls apart and makes them responsible for his suffering. My mom lasted 20 years before she cracked. I lasted until I was almost 30. You lasted 3 months. I feel terrible. You should feel relieved, Jennifer said, because you got out before it consumed your entire life. Before you started making decisions based on whether they'd upset Robert. Before you stopped seeing friends because he needed you. Before you couldn't take a vacation without him calling in tears. Did you ever tell him the truth? I asked. About the lunches? Yeah. After you stopped answering his calls. Jennifer looked grim. He said he knew all along that I was paying you, that he's not stupid, but he appreciated that I cared enough to find someone who would spend time with him, even if it was fake. That's heartbreaking. He also said that you were kinder to him in 3 months than I've been in 30 years. So, there's that. Jennifer stood up. Look, I know you feel guilty, but you did nothing wrong. You were kind to a lonely old man, and he took that kindness and tried to make it into something you never agreed to. That's on him, not you. I wanted to believe her, but I kept thinking about Robert sitting in that lobby for 6 months, eating alone and marking his calendar as if his daughter was with him. The next Monday, I put in my 2 weeks notice. Jennifer didn't try to talk me out of it. Fresh start? She asked. Yeah, fresh start. My last day was a Friday. I was packing up my desk when Brittany called from the lobby. There's someone here for you. My stomach dropped. Who? Didn't give a name. Older man? Says it's important. I almost didn't go down. Almost called security. But something made me take the elevator one last time. Robert was standing by the windows looking smaller than I remembered. Older. When he saw me, he didn't smile. Just signed. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I blinked. You're sorry? My daughter told me things about how I made you uncomfortable. How I called too much, showed up too much. I didn't see it at the time. Or maybe I did and I ignored it because I was so lonely. His hands moved slowly, carefully. You were kind to me when nobody else was. And I repaid that by making you responsible for my happiness. That wasn't fair. Robert, I'm getting help, he signed. A therapist. Jennifer found someone who specializes in this sort of thing. Attachment issues, she called it. He smiled sadly. I'm 70 years old and finally learning how to be alone without making it everyone else's problem. That's good, I signed. I'm glad. I wanted you to know that I'm grateful. Even if it ended badly, those lunches meant something to me. You showed me kindness when you didn't have to. That matters. He didn't wait for a response, just nodded and walked toward the exit. I stood in that lobby for a long time after he left, thinking about how some people's loneliness is a black hole that no amount of kindness can fill. I pushed through the glass doors into the afternoon sunlight and didn't look back. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to like and subscribe to not miss the next story.